first, I want to bring on the president of basketball operations, the man himself, the man, the myth, the legend, Donnie Nelson. How are you, Donnie?
Brian,
what's going on?
Forever. I'm sitting in the same office that you used to run for years.
That's right. Little known that I was really the GM back then. But that's part. I want to get into a little bit about what the mechanisms for trades and all that are. But tell me first of all, when was the first time that that Luka Doncic got on your radar?
Actually, I don't think it was radar. I think it was more sonar. What's that thing when they
finding treasure and hidden gold?
Yeah, exactly. No, look, he went to Real Madrid at a fairly early age, and so we obviously, when we're over there, we start tracking guys as early as we possibly can.
And what is that like? So do you have scouts in Europe full time, talking to coaches and staff and looking at players that may be years down the road?
Yes, I mean, it's about building a book, and you try to get to see guys as early as possible. So yes, it's all of that.
Now, we obviously, and Mark has talked about this openly about what happened with Giannis in the draft back then and how he was on the board for the Mavs, and you had kind of, put your reputation on the line saying this guy's going to be a stud, and for various reasons the Mavericks went into a different direction. Did you vouch for Luka in that way in the room this year, saying, listen, I know it's costly to give up a first, but I really like this guy and he's special, and I'm kind of putting my stamp on this one? Was it a similar kind of situation?
So, Brian, you've been in the war room, and you know the way it works. And ultimately, look, Mark blesses every decision that we make. And when we leave the war room, we're one for all for one. It took no convincing whatsoever. We were all on the same page. Mark saw all the same things that we saw and was every bit a part of this decision as every other time that we've drafted any player in the Mavericks.
That's great. And, you saw reports from the people that write public draft reports on ESPN or different blogs that maybe there was a ceiling to Luka. What made you think there wasn't from your scouting?
Well, I don't know. The ceiling doesn't make much sense to me. I guess you could make a case for, does a guy at the age of 19 all of a sudden burn out and lose his passion and love for the game, or stop his growth pattern? So when I see that, I scratch my head a little bit. But again, to each his own. Look, for us, the things that were attractive were the things that you're looking at, which is his ability to make plays. He makes all of his teammates better. Certainly, he's a work in progress, and we've got work to do on the defensive end and decision making and all the other things that 19-year-old need to work on. But he's got the right stuff, and so far it's looking good. So when you're in the Mavericks, it looks like they have a protected first rounder that is due to Atlanta at some point. It looks like it could be conveyed this year. When you're out scouting for next year, do you kind of focus on maybe lower end players that would be available with the second round pick, or do you scout 1 to 60 because you never know what'll happen? Yeah, we treat every draft like we have the first round pick and all the way through 60. So nothing changes us in terms of our preparation, because there's times in draft day, deals that you can get up high with existing players or, futures or whatever. And so it's just measuring the right opportunity for, the right decision for your franchise.
And listen, I can say this. I know you're humble and won't, but I think you have the best international eye out there, and are known for really focusing on that area, whether it be South America, Europe, Africa. And we've recently, Mark had some comments, and I think he was just kind of, patting Luke on the back more than slamming the U.S. system. But it does seem as though their club system and development is top notch in certain places, especially like in Real Madrid. With the AAU system here, it doesn't seem to be as beneficial. Is there a way to kind of make the U.S. system is develop youth the way they do over there, over here?
Brian, I think, look, there's good and bad coaches everywhere, and so I think the one thing that I would encourage, young coaches out there is to not specialize too early. I think because there's such a level of pressure to win on, even high school levels, I think guys get pigeonholed, just because a guy is, 6'8" in high school doesn't mean that he shouldn't work on his dribbling, his face-up game, passing and such. He shouldn't just be, just because a guy's 6'8", he shouldn't be rebound, block shots, and pass it to the small guys, Big guys should learn how to do those things. You look at Davis the other night that we played down in New Orleans, and here's a guy that was a point guard and all of a sudden had a growth spurt, and the reason that he is the player today is because he did all those things. And so I think one thing that is done probably a little bit more frequently in Europe than here domestically is big guys are forced to face the basket. They're forced to put the ball down. They do a lot of the same drill work that the smaller guys do. And as a result, I think that just by virtue of working on those things and not being as potentially specialized as we are in the United States, it tends to develop a better, more well-rounded player. Now, like, I remember old Golden State days. My dad at Timmy Hardaway, he was 5'10", and Timmy's post game is what established our low post. And small guys should learn how to, rebound, box out, post up, just like big guys should learn how to face the basket and make decisions and potentially work their range out to the three-point line. So I think that just makes for a better, well-rounded basketball player.
And where did your love of the international basketball game? You've been an assistant with the Lithuanian team, Olympic team. You were for several Olympics. Where did that? What was the genesis of you kind of casting your eye in that direction?
When I was a freshman in college, my mom, against my will, kind of forced me to go on an international tour to South America on Athletes in Action, and I reluctantly did it, and I came back with not just memories of a lifetime, but I saw different ways of doing things, coaching, emphasis in all the 5 different countries that I visited down there, and I absolutely fell in love. And I did 4 other tours of duty after that because I had so much fun, and 2 in South America, 2 in Europe. And in Europe is where my eyes really started to open up and see, just the diversity and the wealth of, in a different way of doing things in terms of basketball. And it was like, I was like a young coach in a candy store eating up all that stuff, and I loved it. And not to mention the coaching side of it, but also the playing side of it, but the different cultures and how the history and the just the depth of relationship that you build with people. I just absolutely went head over heels and have been doing it ever since.
And so I know it's been a while since I was running things there and you took the credit, but back in the day.
Hey, there's more truth to that than you and I both know.
Back in the day, it was.
By the way, thanks for Dirk. Thank you for
yes,
Dirk.
of course,
BD.
of course. You're welcome. So we, it used to be pound the phones. Is there texting done now, or is it still a lot of phone work? What are the mechanisms for communication?
It's really everything. It's all relationships. It's the same way that you would talk to members of your family. I mean, there's 30 GMs. We all, it's like one big neighborhood. We, whether it's in person, like I did tonight with my, counterpart with OKC, it's, texting, it's phones, it's all the, modes of communication that you would do with your loved ones.
And, with the trade deadline, February 7th, and I'm not going to get into any specifics about, players on either our team or others, but considering what you just said, I guess those conversations kind of, obviously ramp up, the week before, a couple weeks before, but you just have kind of check-in conversations even now throughout, the next month as well.
Yeah, so it's continuous, honestly. It's really 24/7, and it can be anything from rule changes to how's the family doing, or, it's really, again, those are guys that I've known, some of which I've known for 30-plus years, so it's these are friendships and relationships that you build over time and generations. A lot of guys, were teammates of my dad's, and so it really, I've got the benefit of multiple generations of relationships, which certainly is a plus. But no, look, as you know, Brian, it's look, you've got to give to get, and look, we really like the chemistry of this team. If of course, this past road trip, you would have like to grab, another win or two, but the fight that this team has, I mean, you look at, the last game that we had up in Portland and the shot that Luka makes, and then we battle in overtime. There isn't a single guy in that locker room. We're not where we want to be. We're definitely, we're trending and pushing in the right direction. The West is tough from top to bottom, but we have a locker room that's got a collegiate feel to it, and we like the pieces. And look, if something presents itself, we will absolutely, gauge it, measure it, and if we think it's the right thing for the future of the franchise, we'll pull the trigger.
Well, listen, I know you've got to get to the airport as it's a getaway game night, and you'll be spending New Year's in Oklahoma City, but it was great to see your dad at the Hall of Fame and catch up with him a little bit, and I thank you for coming on, and I miss hanging out with you.
The mayor of Maui, he was actually playing One-Eyed Molly last night with Willie Nelson and, a couple of guys from Texas, So.
Oh, and Wilson and that whole crew. I went and visited him 2 summers ago out there in Paia, and was sitting on the porch, and he says, "Oh, I got to go play poker with Willie," and I was trying to hint around for the invite, and I was like, man, I really love to play poker. Gosh, I don't really get to play near enough, and I got shut out completely. I didn't get the invite, but I understand. I tried.
Hey, you're family, brother. You can go anytime you want. Just bring your gas mask.
Yeah, for sure. Just from secondhand.
It's hard to function in those games.
Yeah, I think maybe Willie does that on purpose.
Hey, literally blowing smoke, right?
Right. Well, thanks a lot, and we'll be looking forward to the rest of the year. With things are definitely super exciting here with the Mavs.
All right, you got it. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks a lot.
All the best. Have a great New Year. Be safe out there.
That is Donnie Nelson, the president of basketball operations, my former boss, and just an amazing job he's done. Let's take a quick break, and we'll be back with Mark Followell here on the Mavericks postgame show, a 105-103 victory here on Sports Radio 1310 and 96.7 FM, The Ticket.